My story should have ended on that mission. But somehow, I survived. Turned into some creature from my nightmares. The world I once knew is lost. My very existence is a threat to a cosmic order I didn't know existed. If heaven and hell want me dead, I won't go quietly.
What is going on, Rippa fans and Rippa fam? I am Eric, not Eric July, actually. I know it's hard to tell the difference. I apologize. I didn't mean to freak you guys out. Didn't mean to confuse you. I am Angie Andrew, also known as Doki Andrew. I am Andrew Rodriguez, our creative manager here at the Rippaverse, and I am going to be joined by none other than two of my favorite creatives in this space, one of which is my brother over here at the Rippaverse, and who is our lead art editor, and he is also our art director, and he was also instrumental in getting the project that you just saw the trailer for off the ground in its early stages. And then we're also being joined by the man himself, Chad Larsson, who is the creator and writer of Deathshroud, Forged in Shadows. So without further ado, let me bring on these gentlemen, because I know y'all don't want to just look at and listen to me. I don't want to just look at and listen to me. So I'm right there with you. I'm bringing these guys in. Chad, welcome, sir.
Hey-o.
Kanan, welcome, brother.
I got my branded shirt and everything.
I didn't get the chance to comment on that backstage, but man, that's a wicked awesome shirt. That's a great polo.
Yeah, I had to make it a polo, right? That's my jam, and had to look all fresh and shiny for today's closeout, man. Woo!
If it was me, it'd be like the track jacket, and I'd have to have just it big on the back, like a varsity jacket. That's what I would have to do if I was getting one made. Oh, maybe I'll have to do that with Blucia.
From the movie Drive, get the silver jacket with a big Deathshroud skull.
See, he's speaking the language already. He's speaking my language. This is why I invited you on. Actually, we invited you on to talk about and close out this phenomenal project that we have had in the works to get off the ground over here in its collected format for quite a while. Because it was a long process to make sure we got all of our ducks in a row. But man, it has been such a joy to see the fans respond to it, as I knew that they would, and as I know even more will after the ones who have already jumped in get their hands on it.
It's been crazy. It's like, I can't believe I saw Eric's tweet this morning. Like, we passed over 1,000. Like, that's absolutely.
I woke up to that tweet.
Awesome.
Like, I had a drafted tweet saved in the social media management platform that I use, and like I fell asleep, and we were like 4 or 5 books away. That's awesome. Then I woke up and I see Eric's tweet, and I see you retweeting it, and I'm like, oh my, we hit it, right?
Dude, that's crazy. Honestly, like, we had such a huge jump. Like, I think we're almost at 1,100, which is insane. So you know, we've passed over 62,000. That's huge. Like, I'm an unknown writer. I put together this awesome crew, and like the fan reception, and like the whole entire Rippaverse community has really kind of come together and embraced it. And like this last, week has been a huge, strong, like, hoorah, which is really, it's as someone who's like invested so much time and energy, and has been years to kind of,
I can imagine.
It's definitely heartwarming, like an emotional feeling of like, yay, we're going out strong. So that's really cool to see.
We'll close out even stronger, man, and it's well deserved. because and we could talk about this a little bit later on as well. But I put out a tweet earlier late this afternoon it was something that was just kind of, I was thinking about Deathshroud, and I was thinking about a lot of really great indie projects that I've supported over the years. And man, you can always genuinely tell when a creator has actual sincere love of something and also knowledge of that thing. Those two things combined. In the same way, you can really tell when somebody is definitely lacking in either or both of those things, because it's there for the entire world to see. You can be like, oh man, like, you put out that thing and I don't really think you know what that thing is, right?
Yeah.
You didn't do any market research, you didn't look into, what are the, because and Deathshroud is a perfect example. And it was the thing that was in the foremost part of my mind when I was thinking about that, because Deathshroud, when I look at it, you understand the aesthetic of that, like, late 90s, early 2000s supernatural horror, right? You understood, and with working with the artists like Kanan, like Ken, like Ryan Stegman, who helped with some of the designs as well. Like, you guys understood the aesthetic of the genre and the archetype that you were going for. And that's important because people who are fans of that they're looking for that, right? Because that's one of the key indicators, like, okay, does this person know what they're doing? Right. And visually you nailed that. Like, obviously hats off to you, hats off to the entire art team, Kanan, Ken, my man, Ryan Stegman, everybody who contributed to that. And then the other side of that is the writing portion, right? Okay, so do you understand how a story of this genre and this type of character works, how it reads, how it flows? And the answer to all of those questions when it comes to Deathshroud is yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you liked Spawn, Darkness, Witchblade, all of that stuff that was going on in the 2000s and the 90s, when it comes to, like, a lot of that image, there was a lot of it was coming out of Image, right? Specifically, like the Top Cow imprint, for the most part. This is right up your alley. Like, this is, I keep saying it and I'll continue to say it, this stands with those properties at their best. Accept no substitutes, but you can accept team players, and that's what Deathshroud is. Deathshroud is like, I'm not trying to be knockoff this. I'm this, right?
Yep.
And you can tell it's inspired by a lot of those amazing stories that came out of the 90s. And Chad, you can tell us about that inspiration here in a second, but it is its own thing while still very clearly knowing what it is.
Yep.
Right? It knows what it wants to be while being unique, while being its own thing.
Yeah, like going back to your point of the story, and I actually you can kind of see it on my bookshelf. I have a huge collection of Spawn and these, like, expensive, like, trades. And what really sold me on Spawn as a kid was immediately the design, and then Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo's artwork, and, like, seeing those splash pages. But one of my frustrations, if I'm being honest, and this isn't a knock, it was a personal frustration of mine, was I personally felt that Spawn was a slow burn. And
early on, it definitely is.
Yeah, and I'm talking, like, and I always make this reference from, like, issues 1 through 80, it took that long for Spawn to be a badass, and he was kind of constantly getting his ass kicked, and that was really frustrating for me, especially because, like, I grew up with, like, my idol was Master Chief, who is, like, run and gun, invincible Terminator. So I wanted to basically kind of bring that hype, and also understanding that today's audiences aren't the same. I'm not going to have the luxury. First of all, I'm not Todd McFarlane, and I'm not going to have the luxury of, taking the 80 issues to get to like this build up. So I know
you don't
that
get
I
to take
have
advantage of that early 90s like image boom where just like each issue is selling 1 million copies.
Yes, exactly. So I got to get to like the action. I got to get to the good stuff as quickly as possible. And the market is so competitive now because we not only from social media and all the content, but video games and mobile games. So we've been trained as a consumer to be, you constantly need that dopamine hit. So it was a conscious decision when I'm writing this to be like multiple action sequence per comic and that you're constantly engaged. And we talked about this last stream, but like making sure that at the end of each chapter, there's a hook, and it's like I gotta know what's going to happen. I got
a reason to check out the next chapter.
Exactly, and so that it's a constant roller coaster. You're constantly engaged, and again, for my love of art, like I've been a big collector of original comic book art. You can see actually a bunch of the original art from the series right on my wall here. Art is a big deal, and art, I think, to a lot of comic book fans is a big deal, and I know that as great as the story is, the art is going to do a lot of heavy lifting, and it's also going to be the thing that sells it initially. It's going to be, I think, like the art is what's going to sell the product initially, and then the story is what's going to keep the reader coming back and engaged. So
correct.
I know that, and because I'm a fanboy myself, I'm like, I want to have lots of splash pages, lots of double spreads, low panel count. So that was all like from inception that was implemented into creating Deathshroud from the ground up of like, I want to have low panel counts, allow these awesome artists to bring that high rendering and high fidelity to the page, because, I want it to be a visual feast. Then you're constantly getting lots of action, so you're constantly engaged, and Deathshroud's a badass. So there's a little bit, he does have his hero's journey. There is training, but he is a badass like Luke Skywalker. Like he takes, he goes on his journey, he takes no prisoners, he learns things quickly. And he's like a Master Chief badass, and I wanted to give him this really cool military background. And then, of course, come on, he's the son of the Archangel of Death, so one of the most powerful entities in existence. You can't be a wuss if you're going to be his offspring. So
that's a whole story right there in into itself, right? Like somebody decides to, Death has a kid, right? It's he has this Nephilim, but that one ends up being just a complete wimp.
Yeah. Can you imagine? That's his twin, and then he becomes a villain. He's like this little. He just got the brains. That's his superpower. I'm super proud. I know we talked about this before, but we really approached this with love because it was, and it is, an indie project. We got to take the time with it. So when I first engaged with Keenan, there was a whole like 2-3 months of just focusing on character designs, going back and forth, making sure that like we have all of these key pillars, like rock star designs. And I really feel that we did that. And I think, like, obviously Deathshroud being the crown jewel, and then we could take our time with the art, with Kanan and with Weekend too. That was not like we had a gun to our head of saying we got to get all of these pages out by this date. So it's like we had the bandwidth to let's get the most, let it cook, get the most detail we can, because at the end of the day, the fans are going to really appreciate that and remember that. And I think I said this before, but one of the things that was also a conscious decision when creating and writing Deathshroud was I'm a big fan of Capullo and Scott Snyder. I love that duo. But my point of constructive criticism, and this is just for me, he's a great writer and he likes to have a lot of panels and a lot of dialogue. That's great. For me and my tastes, I like a little bit more breathing room for the art. And so one of my frustrations with their Batman run, which by the way is my favorite Batman run. This isn't a knock. This is just, I'm just saying.
I love Court of Owls.
Yeah,
man,
it's the greatest.
Like,
it's the greatest.
Court of Owls is one of the absolute best.
I hope it's a movie. I hope it's a movie.
That was the only run within the DC 52, New 52 that stayed consistent.
It was amazing.
And
it was
even outside of the New 52, when they did the rebirth, I mean, Batman has always been on point. And so the Court of Owls, like you said, guys, that's probably the best, one of the best. Next will be probably Dark Knight's Metal, or Dark Knight's not Dark Knight's Metal, but the one with all the evil Batmans. I like that.
Yeah, that was Dark Knight's Metal. That was the first Metal event. The follow-up one was crap, in my opinion. But the first one was just a blast. It was a ton of fun. Everything was shiny. I think everything was zany and off the wall. But I think to your point, Chad, Snyder does have a tendency, and he's one of my favorite comic book writers, but he does have a tendency to be like very verbose, very wordy. And you have this gigantic, word bubble that's filled with just a ton of dialogue, and so the art has to be pulled back, right? And so instead you end up having Greg Capullo's amazing line art. You have smaller characters in this panel because of that, in order to make it work. And I remember hearing stories early on that was a point of contention between the two of them, because
interesting.
Scott Snyder works full script, whereas Greg Capullo works Marvel method.
Interpretation,
which are completely different styles, right, in terms of scripting. And so they had to like build a rapport with each other and kind of like grow as a creative duo, which I think that's something that and you guys can actually both speak to this. I think that's something that any new creative pairing or collaboration is going to have some level of growing pains with. You'll have your rare instances where it's just like you hit it off immediately, right? And everything's just like, wow, like you just get it, right? But I think that the more like compatible creative pair work together, the more and more compatible they end up being. I take Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett as an example here at the Rippaverse. Like their work on Alpha Core 1 was fantastic, but you can tell with each project that they did subsequently after that, they were just tighter and tighter as a creative duo. So like I'm sure that there was some of that with you guys.
I like what helped with both Kanan and Vken was that they play video games. So if you play video games, I make a lot of references. Like I remember I would like not even just through email, like I would just text like Kanan, like, hey, when you're doing like the bullets, here's a screenshot from a hunter from Halo, which he's shooting like a plasma burst, and I'm like giving him different references of that, and like from the grunts and all these different things. And if you play the games and you're really deep in the trenches of all of that, it makes it a lot easier to just have kind of fluid conversations. And like even there was a bit of, I remember when I was first telling Kanan about the story as well, he pulled something that no one else has pulled up, and I'm hesitant to share it, but he knew, but I'll say it because it's fun. But he's like, hey, some of that reminds me a little bit of Hercules. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. In terms of like the older animation Disney Hercules, where you had Hades, the underground with the river Styx. And all that stuff. And I was like,
I can see it.
I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, that for whatever reason stuck with me as a kid. I felt it was very haunting, even though it was a great, family friendly movie. Like the depiction of Hades
was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, he's, and that is to me is one of my favorite. I think one of my favorite pages. It was my favorite page to illustrate was Death's Throne, throne room, because like you mentioned, the Hercules reference, he has a pool of souls.
Yeah,
and they're just like both sides. Of like this moat of just souls, and he's on the throne, and he's just kind of like, you're kind of nonchalant, thinking about different things, modern things, and he's got these massive like chains that lead to almost nowhere to the throne.
Looks cool.
Yeah, and they're just like they're huge.
Hey man, I am pro rule of cool.
Yeah.
If people are entertained, that's what matters. If people are entertained, they will have some suspension of disbelief when it comes to like maybe something doesn't make perfect one-to-one sense in our real world. I don't care. It's a comic book. Does it look cool? All right. Am I entertained? All right. I don't care about the rest of it.
But the chains alluding to the fact that even though it seemed seem to lead to nowhere, just how infinite he is.
Right.
Like it's almost like his, the chains lead everywhere within wherever his realm is.
Right.
Is it's because I say in relating to some of like the the endless in the DC universe versus like death in Marvel universe. The death in Marvel universe, the one that Thanos is always like simming over, she's kind of like an avatar or an essence of who death is. Because then you got you got all these individuals. Well, the endless, Sandman's sister is death itself. There's nothing higher. She's not an avatar. She's literally death itself. And so that put me in a different frame of mind when we were creating death. He's not a host of death. He's not a archangel of death like Deathshroud. He's death itself, which means death comes to everything: spirit, soul, and body. There's none higher except for the creator himself. But after that, it's like in this world, man, death he's it. So everybody fears him. It doesn't matter who you are, angels, people, creatures. It's like, oh my god,
death comes for everyone, right?
Comes for everybody.
Comes for us all.
Yeah. This is a good question that I don't think I actually asked you guys when we did our last stream. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out that aforementioned last stream, you can find it here on our YouTube channel. It was a fantastic, just creative discussion of us going through the entire creative process of building out this world. Ton of incredible insight from both Chad and Kanan. It's worth your while. That is some of the most fun. I think it was like maybe an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes, something like that I have ever spent streaming, because there's just the creative stuff, and I love that kind of stuff. But
and it was the first time we showed you walk through all of the original concept art of the characters, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, you guys have not. You will have not seen that otherwise. But speaking of concepts, there is, and people when they get their hands on the book will, I think, if they're paying attention, and maybe now they will be subconsciously because I'm saying it, so you're welcome. There's a visual design continuity actually with Death and with Azrael and with Deathshroud. Was that, I'm sure it was deliberate, but was that deliberate? And what was the thought process in that? What elements were you, both you, Chad, and you, Kanan, thinking of trying to be like, okay, so this makes sense for this character's design because he is this character's son, but what elements am I pulling from? Because he's not death. Deathshroud is not death, but he's his offspring. Yeah. And so there's still that, there's a through line in the design there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll let Kanan speak to it. We did touch on it a little bit before, but it's a great story. I'll preference it by, first of all, Death is one of the coolest looking characters in the universe. A lot of everybody, actually, everybody loves the designs across the board are stellar, but everyone really likes Death as well, as well as Chiron. So it's no secret that Diablo Darksiders was an initial kind of starting point. And then Kanan ran with it. But there was other influences from video games and stuff, and I'll pass it over to Kanan. But that's what really kind of made it unique. But I'll pass it to Kanan to share that.
Well, I know for Deathshroud himself, I think we created Death first. So, Death, because, Deathshroud is his son. So it's like he has to be, like you mentioned, Andrew, he has to be, there should be elements and nuances within Deathshroud that show that he's his son. So with Death, like you said, I think you showed me some things, Chad, from one of the characters from Diablo, which is where we got the no face, where it's just dark, no. And I think, like you mentioned before, initially he had a face, and it was cool, but sometimes less is best. And I think the lack of a face and just this open void of darkness is even more
it's a lot more haunting.
Yes, more haunting, exactly, Andrew. And so elements of that, and then you mentioned Darksiders, things like that. There's a death also in that game that it's very well done. Joe Mad is a beast, so there's influences of that. And then from there, I think it's just like, our imagination took over. His hood, I'm a fan of Cloak, so you see elements of the way his hood looks is very Cloak-esque. And then the armor, like I said, is just, we wanted to make something really surreal, man, with the chains hanging. It was kind of funny. I was thinking even, there's elements of like Scrooge and Jacob Marley. And, that was one of the most polarizing scenes within Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, is when Jacob Marley shows up and you hear him dragging those massive chains, and then all
the clanking and all of that.
Yeah, it's like he's doing. It's like this when he's, and then when he goes, the whole vibe. So we wanted him to have elements of that, and then of course, like, the tattered clothes, where it's almost clothing, but at the same time, it's almost like mist, like smoke, because death is in essence, he's a presence. But then at the same time, he's a warrior, like he's a beast. So he's got
Death is no slouch.
No, man. Like
when you guys read the book, Death does not.
Yeah, I mean, he still has the scythe. It's he still has that, but he's done in a way, man, that makes him cool. Because people have done the Grim Reaper so many different ways. But honestly, I think Chad has come up with probably the dopest version of Death I think I've seen. And that's saying a lot. And there's been a lot of versions and a lot of ways that people have done it. But this version of Death, definitely, to me, it's is far superior, which segues into Deathshroud. Deathshroud, we wanted to be a little bit more unique with him, because the paranormal or the spiritual aspect was actually the secondary aspect of what we added to Deathshroud. The first thing we wanted to add was like an alien aspect to it. We didn't want him to feel like he was earthen or something that you would see, and not just like a Ghost Rider type. He's not just the ethereal or the paranormal. Like, he's also otherworldly. And one of my biggest influences when we were conceptualizing Deathshroud was, of course, adding elements of death, with the armor. You notice some similarities with the skulls on his, his bracers, his forearms, his legs.
He's got the hood.
It's tattered and shredded. But if you look at his face, it's like, why does he have 4 eyes? Well, one of my influences at the time, one of the games that it's kind of like a cult classic now, but one of the video games that were early on in, I think, early PlayStation was a game called Warframe.
Yeah.
And I always loved how it was like organic, their organic metal, in the way that the armor would like really mesh into like their muscle fibers and
kind
the
of biotech.
Biotech.
Armor.
It was like, man, it's like the synthetic muscle and all this stuff. And so, adding elements of that, if you take Deathshroud's hood off, he's got this head that kind of goes back into almost like, if you guys remember Silverhawks, if you ever seen the back of like Quicksilver and and all of them, from the Silverhawk, they have this like peaking, like it comes to a point. Well, with him, I wanted to almost be like plates, so just to kind of show like it's kind of like a plate armor at the same time. It's bioorganic. Like, yes, Deathshroud, when he manifests on top of the main character, yes, it covers him, but at the same time, that's his face. That's not a mask.
That's
like
him.
that's his face. Like, it's like, oh, well, if he peels it back, I mean, no, that's him. Like, that's not a
that is just his face now.
Yeah, that's his face. It's, through and through. And so, and it's almost like it's what shows like the transformation. If you think about it, it goes down to the cellular level, because that's the skull. Like, it's the open nose, the mouth, the teeth, the jaw. It just reconstructs every aspect of the character from his human state to his Deathshroud state, and that's what we wanted to feel, man. Like when people see it, they don't think, oh, okay, this is the typical, Avenger, night dark Avenger, kind of like ethereal paranormal guy. No, but he's also alien. He's also got elements that just don't necessarily fit in the typical gothic aesthetic,
Yeah, I feel like it's so I feel like it's very fresh. Like it's very you really nailed Deathshroud design. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think it's such.
We all are. We can admit that.
Yeah, like I understand it's coming from a biased place, but I really do believe that his character design really stands out. Like if you were to see it on a shelf next to a bunch of other, properties, you're going to immediately, what is that? That looks epic.
Yeah.
And going back to the death design too, of like one of the things that you kept consistent, to answer one of Andrew's questions too, is you kept the kind of alien, like you can see with the feet, some of the bio on the arms and stuff
down there at the bottom.
Yeah, like you kept
bioorganic arms and the feet there.
Yeah, you kept that consistent. And then for those of you who've seen this for the first time, the cape. This was Kanan's idea. I didn't want to do traditional wings, like the typical like feathered wings. Yeah. So we were just kind of like, what should we do? And occasionally he's like, well, what if like occasionally the cloaks, when they're kind of floating or whatever, emulate wings? And I'm like, that's such a cool idea.
I like that.
Yeah, let's do that. And you see an amazing splash page at the end of chapter 1.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
When Deathshroud's standing over a bunch of shadow demons that he's killed, and his cape is like wings behind him. It's such a killer. It's such a killer piece, and that actually inspired Bjorn Barons when he did a variant cover for one of the Indiegogos. He did kind of the angel like wings behind it as well. So it was such a cool.
I suppose you're talking about this page.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
There's also another page, Chad. I don't know if you remember, like right when their transport crashed, and Deathshroud steps out onto the street for the first time. You see the cape kind of
all the fire.
There's like wing type things, man. As he's walking into the forest, not trying to tell too much of the book, but you see him walking in, and the wings. It's almost like wings. They just kind of like trail off, So
yeah, it's killer. I'm so happy with how things turned out, and that's one of the advantages, kids. Like if you're doing your own project, spend time on massage the designs until you get it right, because
design is so important, because that's what people are going to remember that character by. Absolutely. Right, and you that's, and like I mentioned before, that's one of those things that's going to be the sticking point for a lot of comic book readers as to whether or not you know what you're doing and know what you're talking about. Like, all right, does this character look like they belong in this type of a story? Does this look like it fits in within this archetype? And Deathshroud, like I said, he's up there with the best of them. Yeah, absolutely up there with the best of them. That's a credit to Chad and to Kanan and VKen and everybody who helped design this world, because his design is really badass. Shout out to Giannis Holland in the chat. He loves what he was seeing there. I think I had the death concept art pulled up at the time when he hopped in. This man is an incredibly talented artist. He's working on a few things right now. He's done several covers for us, including one of the covers for RippaZine number 5. So, sir, thank you for drawing Zephyr in such an amazing way. He looks absolutely beautiful on that cover. He also made Michael Copper and Lillian Renashi look fantastic. But I'm biased, and I created Zephyr. Eric created the other two bad guys. So I care about Zephyr. I love Michael and Lillian, as awful people as they are. But thank you, sir, for all of your contributions. And thanks for popping through. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate that. Like, and seeing that kind of response from as talented an artist as this man is,
Yes.
like that's one of those things. It's like, yep, the creative team here knew what they were doing when they put together Deathshroud. Like Chad and Kanan, like you guys nailed it.
Every time I reach out to an artist to get like a variant cover or something to that effect, and I'm showing them the property, every time the response is like, "What a cool character that you have here!" And Brett Booth, who did a variant cover, who did actually the hardcover copy.
Yes.
I was saying
he's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, he's. I always like to give him a little bit of a shout out because he's an incredible, talented artist. As a unknown rookie, knocking on random doors to see who would kind of partake in this project, he was always really willing to help and be very reasonable. And he helped both on the initial Indiegogos, and then we got two covers. We got two covers from him, and so John Livesey, who's an inker in the industry, he's been an inker for a while. He's actually inking some of Ryan Stegman on X-Men right now. He made that intro, and John Livesey has been great. He's made a bunch of intros to the industry. So shout out to those two guys. Like Brett, Brett's always, if he has time, he's super busy. He's a traditional artist. He does, on paper.
He's traditional, and he's currently the main artist on Spawn.
Yeah. So he's super busy, but he always was accommodating, and as long as I can give him a long enough, bandwidth to like bang out, a cover or something, he'll try to fit it in. But he is a madman doing crazy amount of pages for Todd McFarlane. So
and it's not like pressure. He has simplistic lines.
No,
either. Like he does.
He's cool.
Such
he's such
detailed
a cool
lines, right? Like there's only so many artists out there that do lines as detailed as he does and as well as he does. Not many. Like Kanan, your lines are extremely detailed. V Ken's lines are extremely detailed. But there's a level of consistency and like discipline you have to have as an artist when you're that detailed. Because that's like, man, that your work takes a little bit of extra elbow grease, right? And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with more simplistic line art. I love both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. It just is all a matter of like, all right, how did the artist present it? And Booth is one of those guys where, man, he has a really special way of leveraging his understanding of anatomy.
He does.
Yeah, I'm super biased towards him. I own, this sounds like a flex, but it's just, I'm passionate, so I'm sharing it. But I own his Batman Spawn cover that he did for that. And it's like, of the, I don't know how many they did, like 10 different covers or something crazy. It was like that and Jason Fabok. Those were my two favorite covers. And his
Fabok is insane, man.
Yeah, Fabok is incredible. I would really like to see Booth on, like, paired with a really cool writer, do a Batman run, because, like, again, I just love how gritty and his artwork's so sleek.
It always ticks me off that he's never been on a Spider-Man book, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's so many projects I would love to see him on, but at the end of the day, I can't be. I'm blessed. We have him on Spawn, which is like, that's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
So yeah,
he was doing Gunslinger Spawn before that.
Yeah. So I can't. Spawn's one of my all-time favorites. But we've had so many awesome artists. His hardcover, we put new colors on it. We did new digital inks on it to separate it and make it more fresh from the Indiegogo version. Went with the color palette that is more traditional Deathshroud in terms of like the complementary of the greens and purples and blues. I think it's super killer. I can't wait to have that and like put that on my shelf. And the Stegman foil cover, I can't wait for all of these proofs to come in, and I'm gonna keep bugging Andrew to send me send me DMs of when they come in to to show me what when they.
You will be the first to know.
Yeah, I can't wait. But I'm really happy with how all of the covers came out.
Yeah.
And fans seem to be really pleased. I think it's pretty crazy that we got people like Booth, like Ryan Stegman. Obviously, we got VKen, and then Victor Bogdanovic, who is I just love his artwork. He's like in the vein of like a Greg Capullo style, and just as like kind of I would say like a first. Awesome. Bigger reveal of Deathshroud, because obviously Deathshroud's been around for a little bit with me trying to get it off the ground, but this is with working with the Rippaverse, RippaSend. This is the first time Deathshroud has a lot of eyes on it. His cover, like the full shot of Deathshroud, looks so menacing. I'm like, this was definitely something that I wanted to have to get kind of a mass eyes on this the design, which is why all of the covers weren't purposefully. I didn't want to have the covers like battles or introduce a bunch of different characters. I just wanted to be like
just on
Deathshroud, because I'm like, this is my first opportunity to get eyes on this properties, and I'm like, I know how strong the character design is and how cool he looks, so I'm like, let's put him front and center, and then as we grow, then kind of expand and do the traditional, bring other characters in and do more battle covers and stuff like that. But initially, I'm like, I just want to have key badass poses of the main character.
I think especially for something that's a collected edition, having just like, this is the focus of this, and it's the introduction of this character. As you go on, you can do more with other covers and things like that. But I think you have the right mentality there, because this is what you want people to remember. You want people to remember Deathshroud. You want people to know that this is the introduction to him. And every single one of these covers is incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on all 4 of them, because I did get all 4 of them.
Woo!
Because I could not. Deathshroud's going to be taking up a nice little chunk of my indie comics shelf, because they're beautiful, and I'm really especially excited. So yes, I'm a Brett Booth fanboy, but I really want to see how this foil Ryan Stegman cover turns out, man.
Especially with all that mist, I think that's gonna really pop with that foil. I think that's gonna be really cool.
I think this cover is gonna be off the chain when people get their hands on it. We've been refining our foil cover process with our printer, and like some of the more recent ones that have come in are just out of control to me. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to see like now some of these other covers that I know are coming down the line in foil, this being one of them, because it's like, man, we're just like, we're figuring it out more and more as we go along. And that's part of the kind of natural process when you're an indie, and you're kind of like teaching yourself all of this stuff as you go along, whether it's on the business side, whether it's on the logistics side, but still like kind of in the creative, but it's like in the design side of it, and then in the creative side of it as well. So it's a lot of a learning process, but all of these covers are going to look incredible, guys. There's no wrong answer, other than none of them. I would
pick
say
one, pick them all.
and if you're having difficulty picking a cover, guys, we've got you. We've got you.
The whole bundle.
There is the book pack, but there's also an I Want It All pack, which is what you honestly should get, because that black and white Ryan Stegman shirt, man, that's crazy, man.
So this little quick story on that. So that artwork was very special artwork, because that was the very first cover of the very first Indiegogo that we had. And still to this day, I have it framed. It's on my wall. You just can't see it. It's up higher to, but
you just have that many framed original pieces.
Yeah. Actually, that's funny that you say that. I think I own almost all of the covers. Anyone who did it physical, I think I own all of them, but like one.
Really?
Yeah. Because I love, dude. I like.
That's awesome.
Put it this way: there's splash pages that Ken has that like. He just won't want to, like, I'm just like, how much is how much?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I really want to keep it. So like,
did you grab
and
the
that's saying something too, because he does sell his original art.
yeah.
Did you
And
buy
he
the
loves that piece that much.
Yeah.
Did you buy the splash? I think it's the splash, the rooftop.
He won't sell that. That's the
That-
he won't sell it. He won't sell it.
Nah, I'm keeping that, man.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was
Hey,
crazy.
respect.
I want
that.
that.
That piece is gorgeous, man.
Yes.
I know. That's so
Jeez.
funny that you called. You knew.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I want that.
He nailed it, man. He got it in one.
That's
one.
wild. That's wild. Yeah, this is really cool. This poster is awesome. It's cool to see Keenan come back and do I'll let Keenan speak to this, but this was kind of like a typical kind of like a movie poster, which was epic.
Yeah.
It was to me it was almost like a, of course the movie vibe, but it was like a reunion, man. Like, it was so long since I actually drew Deathshroud, so to go back and revisit him, and I think I mentioned this in the other stream, to be able to revisit him with the skill set I have now and the understanding of really my style, how it works, it's almost like navigating through your skills, and it's like now you're more familiar with it. Now you know exactly how to how the character works, how they flow, like those different things. It has an effect on how you depict the character. I've told Andrew that even drawing our characters, like drawing, Isom at the beginning was basically raw. Now when I draw him, I actually understand the character. Same thing with Zaylen. Like when I would draw Zaylen before, it was okay, this is cool. Now I draw him and I understand, oh yeah, this is his personality, kind of thing. So it comes out in the artwork. And same thing with Deathshroud. Like now that I've seen and experienced more of the characters, even adding his mom in there, it was like, because she has you guys will see, she has such an integral role. I have a special place in my heart.
She has quite the impact. Let's just say that. I won't give anything away, but man, she has.
And even the way that they're depicted in this poster, Deathshroud, he's the Avenger, the angel type. He's arrogant. The dude demon guy with the horns, like he's this assassin, that's his nature. And then even the way that they're arranged, where you got Charon, he's the teacher, he's the educator,
the Obi-Wan.
The Obi-Wan. Death.
That's a lot of why I love the character so much. The moment he showed up and started talking, I was like, this is my Obi-Wan in this story. Awesome. I already like this guy.
And Death, he's the father. He's the one that's started everything. But then you look at his mom and she stands out because she's his heart. She's his heartbeat. And like even so. And then of course you got the creatures, they're the underworld, they're the refuse, but they're also wickedly strong and powerful as well. They're the intimidation factor. So everything in this is like, it's laid out for a reason. That's what, as artists, your visuals, whether it be a poster, whether it be pages, sequential art, whether it be, a cover, should tell a story. And there's a method to the madness. There's a reason why, and I just explained it. There's a reason why everything's arranged the way it is. It's not just Deathshroud.
It's not just thrown together. You didn't just roll the dice and be like, who's going to be in the upper right corner?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Death won that one.
Exactly. So, every aspect of this was just fun, man. Like, to be able to do his hand, the flaming hand, and then do the reclaimer, his gun. And all those different things, man. It's just like, chilling with old friends kind of thing. And it was an honor. And I was grateful, man, that Chad let me, create, because I always wanted to do a cover and never got a chance to. I did the back cover, but it was like, I always wanted to do a cover, man. But I had already done my set of the interior. So I mean, that was enough. But
And Candace's colors on your poster here, man.
Yeah.
Are off the chain.
Yeah, she's great.
Candace
really
is
impressed.
one of my 3 favorite colorists on your lines.
Yes.
She does beautiful work. Absolutely beautiful work.
I don't think she would be mad if I said she's little dollhouse.
Yeah.
And if you understand what that means, you know, like, you know.
Yeah.
And she's definitely heading in that direction to be one of the elites, if not already.
Her colors are just so.
Yeah, I love Candace's work, man.
When she first started coloring stuff with us, I think the first stuff she colored with us was interiors on Great War Part 1, and then she did a couple of covers as well. But like just in that short period of time, like she's somehow gotten even better. And like looking at her colors on this are just incredible. Like this is a poster, guys. Like if there is a poster to get, that's not just your typical like hot babe poster, which are easy sells, right? Let's be honest here. I'm guilty of that. I'm not gonna try and act like I'm not.
I mean, his mom is in the picture. I mean, she ain't. She's eye candy.
She's right there. She's right there, right? Short shorts and everything. And it's not Kanan's poster for my book. Then this is the poster you want on your wall because this looks
epic.
So rad. It's epic. This is, you know, you said it perfectly when you mentioned like this was like your big budget movie poster. Right. Like this is you were putting this out there because you know that when people, not just you hope, you know, when people see this, they're gonna turn their heads and be like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, dude, it looks like a game cover.
I need to,
like it's
I need to go see that movie, or I need to play that game, or whatever it is. I need to read that comic. That is exactly what this poster does.
Yeah, it's so epic, and like you said, the colors, like everything just pops, and you never go wrong with Kanan's artwork. He's one of the best to ever do it. So, I want to just comment briefly because I saw someone's chat or message pop up about part 2. I will say this, and we talked about it briefly on the last stream, but I'll recap it. So for those of you who missed it, essentially this part 1 of Forged in Shadows, the follow-up would conclude that arc, and then the plan would be to introduce, and this is spoiler, but I've revealed this in the past. The spoiler would be in part 3 to introduce the 4 horsemen. Those are one of my favorite all-time kind of entities, characters. Super excited to kind of bring those to life, but because they're such a powerful force,
you got to build up to that.
I got to build up to that. That's kind of like an Avenger like story arc, and therefore Deathshroud's going to need help. And one of many, but the first kind of new hero that we would introduce is called Shadow Slayer. So he is a Nephilim as well. And eventually Deathshroud and Shadow Slayer will meet. The plan, again, knock on wood, the plan, everything goes great, would be to have little short mini series. So each Nephilim would have his, 4 or 5 issue entry to tell that specific origin. And then I would bend them into the main Deathshroud arc. And with Shadow Slayer here being the first to help Deathshroud take on the 4 horsemen. He's a badass character. The design specifically, the character design was done by Viken Marion, who is a big fan of games.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
I love that you kind of let him go ham on the design here.
Absolutely.
I look at this and I'm like, even if I didn't already know that Viken designed this, I would have been like, Viken designed this, because I see all the hallmarks, and I just finished reading through his own first published book, his creator-owned book, Soul Striker, Battle Chronicle Soul Striker, which is a beautiful book. Andrew Dahlhaus, who is admittedly my favorite colorist, he colored the thing.
I agree.
Beautiful piece, and that character's design, as with Shadow Slayers, you can just tell, you're like, man, this artist is a big fan of Final Fantasy, a big fan specifically of like Final Fantasy 7 and Cloud. You see a little bit of Sid with the staff here, right? It just,
I'd say
I love that he's still
distinct. Vibes too.
That too. But I love that he's still distinct, and you have this rich. I'm gonna use a dangerous word here. You ready? This is a D word. You have a rich diversity of designs in your universe. And
So-
they there's a through line with them, but each one still has something incredibly unique about them.
Yep.
And I will say this, and I remember we touched on this a little bit in the past of, yeah, as you see, he has glowing orbs, and we wanted to keep that consistent of like the different characters kind of have glowing orbs. And the original idea, when I was talking through it with Kanan, was that the orbs or the glowing energy would represent, you know, kind of a specific element or something to that effect, and ended up pivoting away from that, and then kind of made green, the color of green, associated with Death Realm. So him and Charon share that, and that was inspired because of Lord of the Rings, the basically the ghosts,
the men under the mountain.
Exactly. Yep. So that was inspired by that. I avoided red. So as you see in the original design that Kanan did, he colored the orbs and stuff red. And my fear was, although I think red is awesome, my fear was shoot, that could get confusing with hell. And that said, this character has red armor, and he is a half angel, and red is usually associated with hell. So maybe there could be something tied to that. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to. He's already got stuff going on up in his noggin. Don't let him fool you.
And the fire, like, that looks like hellfire, maybe.
Right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah,
You know
maybe.
that-
I feel like you're very subtly or not so subtly dropping some hints here. You know, I usually have to have an eye out for NBAs. I have no power here. Okay,
So,
I'm Saruman in Theoden's castle when Gandalf the White shows up. I have no power here, right?
I don't know a lot of the story just from what you explained, Chad, but that sword reminds me of the sword that specifically kept a certain group of people out of the garden. Like, it was like the sword that just kept
Sword of the cherubim that kept the
that they were
kept people out of the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve got kicked the heck out.
Yeah,
they done screwed up.
I can't comment on that.
See, he just
I don't know.
somebody else just dropped NDA on a stream that I'm hosting. What the heck?
See, Chad's
real quick,
he's good Indian in himself. He's good. He's good.
I do want to shout this out real quick. I know it's been a minute since he dropped it, but thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says, hello, Chad. Can't wait for part 1 of Deathshroud and can't wait to pre-order part 2. Well, the more support we get for part 1, and that includes post-campaign sales, the quicker we will get part 2 going to you guys. Because believe me, I have a dog in this fight as well, because I want part 2. I've read this whole thing, and I will read it again once I have it physically in hand.
Yep.
And then I'm going to just want part 2 even more. And you guys will feel the exact same way, I promise you, because this book is fantastic. This is going to be the best looking indie book you have held in your hand in a really long time. Especially if you are a fan specifically of supernatural horror. Like this, guys, it's too heavy and I'm too tired and lazy. It's like 5.5 feet away. But my short box that has strictly all of my omnibuses, not trades, but my omnibuses for Witchblade and Darkness and all of that is over there. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this genre. It's kind of like my bread and butter. If I say something qualifies as being a top contender, I mean it. I'm coming from a place of experience and of love for this genre. And
we trust you, Andrew. We trust.
Chad managed to like be a top contender right off the bat.
Yeah, I truly believe, and I say this, but I truly believe that this stands shoulder to shoulder with those major publisher event books, and I think objectively the art, like you can't argue with the art, because like V-Ken is an all-star. He's working on DC. He's Green Lantern right now.
He's doing Green Lantern right now.
He's worked on Wonder Woman, Justice League, Batman, all those cool properties. So he's his art is undeniable. The product looks amazing. So if you love art, this is and art means a lot to you as a collector. This is going to be up your alley. If you like the super high rendering and hatching, and his V-Ken's artwork is I would say a little bit influence from Michael Turner. So
Yes.
again, who's amazing. So definitely, if you're like the Top Cow, that type of Michael Turner, high rendering, you're gonna love Deathshroud. It's low panel count. So I really give the book room and the art to breathe. There's lots of action. And then, I understand that I don't want to bore people with a bunch of unnecessary dialogue. There's key dialogue, of course, but it's high action so that you're going to be constantly engaged each chapter, and you're going to be ending each chapter of like, oh shit, I gotta find out. So that's I'm super proud with what we have, and it means so much to hear Andrew say that, and as like a hardcore collector and fan of comics. So the dream would be, if I ever found out of like someone like Todd McFarlane or Mark Silvestri or someone actually read the Deathshroud at some point, that'd be really cool.
Hey, maybe
Joe Mad.
We just started doing our Rippaverse Primeval action figure line. Who knows? Maybe Todd sees this and he's like,
"That's crazy.
Hey, what's that?"
Exactly.
I want to make an action figure of that, right?
Yeah,
like
a statue. Well, that would be cool too. Like as we continue to build on Deathshroud, and even just from like CGC type stuff, but as we continue to build on Deathshroud and we get more fans engaged and more exposure on it, the opportunities are endless. Like, could we eventually maybe do a statue for Deathshroud? Of course. Like,
why the heck not?
Yeah. So all of those things are 100% on the table. It's all about, can I continue to build momentum? That's why, and I've been saying this through some of my tweets as well as my little videos that I'll put out and stuff, but I would super appreciate it. Anybody who buys the book, definitely leave a video review.
Please review it.
Like that, your voice is going to do it. It's going to be so helpful for, word of mouth, that positive sentiment. It's going to be a snowball effect, and that community play and reception is what I think is going to be, a champion or a critical piece to help this continue to move forward and answer the question, this needs to exist, which is, a super important thing, because I can be super biased, but I want, and I also, to my own detriment, I'm going to be listening to all the reviews, good or bad. If you trash it, I'm still going to listen to it. I'm going to be like, okay, what, is there, what can I pull out of that constructive criticism? I'm going to be listening, because at the end of the day, we can't do fun stuff like this without support. And ultimately, I'm a fan too. So I want you guys to be happy. So I'm going to be listening things that you guys don't like. And if I hear consistent feedback on a certain specific thing, then it's like, okay, that's now something that I need to, digest and fix going forward.
That's an incredibly difficult thing to do as a creator, but it is vital. And I'm sure, Kanan, you can speak to this on the art perspective as well, but because I am not an artist, but as a burgeoning attempted writer, we'll see. If you guys just want me to go back to writing pigeons, you'll let me know after reading Blue Shift Tryouts.
Whatever,
but as for you, Chad, as a writer, it is important to take that feedback from specifically your target audience, right? We can compartmentalize feedback into different places. When it's feedback coming from your target audience, so these are the people that, all right, this is your target demographic. These are the people that you have the greatest opportunity and likelihood of having their fandom, having their support, both verbally and financially, for the project that you're trying to produce. You definitely want to pay very careful attention to what they're saying. And you'll ultimately have, a few people in that mix that maybe they really didn't like one particular thing or another, but those might be outliers. Overall, it's like, that doesn't make it insignificant, but what that makes it is like, okay, I'll take note of that. Now, if a bunch of people start saying the same thing and they were your target audience, then that's when you start to reassess. And that's when it's like, okay, a lot of people, a significant percentage of the people that I'm courting essentially here for this project that I'm trying to produce and get their support for. A lot of them are saying this. Okay, I need to approach it now a lot differently than if just 2 or 3 were saying one particular thing, right? And that's different from people who maybe they're not fans of the genre that you're doing, and so it's like, okay, well, I can understand their perspective there. This, trying to say this carefully, they're coming at this from, they were willing to give your project a shot, and that's a huge blessing. That's a huge honor. But ultimately, what the thing wasn't their cup of tea. It wasn't for them. I've read plenty of books where it's like, I see what they were going for here. Wasn't for me. Didn't do it. And so it is still important to have that healthy mentality of assessing feedback from your buyers, from your supporters, especially those who are in that demographic that's like, all right, that demographic, that's the bullseye, or the bullseye and maybe like the 2 rings outside of it that I'm shooting for, right? When I throw this dart, what are they saying?
Yeah. And it's so important. And we live in a time where for a lot of the mainstream, it's clear that they're not listening. Not only are they not listening, they're to spite almost the fans. So and it's not just Hollywood, it's also in games. Like there's major multi-billion-dollar brands that you're just like, what are you doing? And
I'm gonna just gripe real quick. Speaking of gaming, since we're here, Madden is a cash grab.
It is.
I'm gonna just say that for anybody and everybody who's a sports Madden fan who may be listening to this,
FIFA,
you are being duped because they are rebranding the same features. They're naming it, dude.
Or taking away features and then bringing them back 2 years later.
Yeah, I'm about to
hey,
go.
we're doing this new thing. Dude, y'all did that 2 years ago.
One of the greatest football games, since we're in the gaming space, one of the greatest football games I've ever played was ESPN 2005. Had Terrell Owens on the cover. One of the most amazing physics, franchise mode, weather, commentary, everything. Like, and I always say it was one of the greatest games never played because EA got scared, bought the rights, so nobody else can make any NFL game. But dude, there are things that Madden, there are things that 2005 ESPN did that Madden still has not gotten the grasp of. They still don't understand. They're still not listening to the fans. They're still not listening. And at this point, it's like, unless the thing that makes Madden gives it longevity is simply because people do the tournaments. So they're like, oh yeah, you can make money off of me. I play Madden, I can earn Madden so I can make $1,000, $1 million, whatever. But at the end of the day, the game sucks.
Right.
It's horrible. It's gotten worse. And because they're coming up on their contract re-signing or whatever, they're trying to throw in all the stops. And it's worse than any other edition before it. 2026 Madden is crap. It's bad. It just is.
I don't think I've played a Madden since like 07.
And you wouldn't be bad about it because it's the same game.
Yeah, it is. It's same with FIFA, all the sports games.
All that to say, fans or creators, listen to your fans, because the haters gonna hate. They gonna say what they want, man. They don't read the material, and sometimes they just buy it to burn it or to just whatever. It's just like, dude, you got issues.
You see the guys that will buy, like, wait in line to get the PlayStation, PlayStation 6, and everyone's waiting for it, and then just smash it on the ground.
Yeah, like why, bro? Like, okay, I mean, you lie in my pocket, so okay, but dang, man, like that was a waste. So, but the fans, when you're creating for the fans, and when you truly listen to the fans, and I will say, shout out to Eric. I know he was in here a little bit. Talking about somebody who listens to what the fans have a voice, and talking about somebody who listens to the fan base, from toys that we have to the diorama, things that we have, to the books that we have, the stories. books that are NDA, you know, the Rippazine, like all these different things. Like the fans made that happen. You guys, you fans made that happen. That's why we always say we have the greatest fans in the industry. And so Deathshroud to me is no different, man. Like it is, and I was gonna say this, a couple moments back. If you had any reservations for hopping into the realm of Deathshroud, two things to think about. One, Chad has a full story. Like it's just not this one volume. Like it's a saga. There's a lot that you guys don't know that he has planned. Not just what he revealed here, but just like there's levels to this thing. That. But it all depends on you guys. Like you, the fans are what's gonna help unpack the full story. And then two, not many people come out the gate with this level and the quality of stuff. The book's done. This particular book's done. It's done at a high level. If he can't kick butt, I added my little fire, to it. And
you did okay. It was okay.
Decent lines, I guess.
But it's unique. It's fresh, and like I said, for somebody to come out this strong out the gate, man, that's a testament not only to the writing, and the writing is good, mind you. It's not just like a shallow story of just like a couple of dialogue on the page, and then the rest of the book is fighting. That was the 90s. It was dope. Back in, I'm like 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, man. It's like everybody's fighting all the way through, and it's like, stop. And then 6 more pages of fighting. No. And then, don't. So, I mean, that was cool.
Not much story to be had.
Right. I mean, but back then, nobody really, unless you were a hardcore reader of story, you really didn't care. It's like, okay, whatever. I just want to see the action. But this has all that and a story, a very engrossing story. So definitely back it. Please, as we wrap, as it's coming, as this is the last day for it, man. Like, dude, like it's such a fresh story, man. Like it's amazing, and I look forward to where Deathshroud goes. I look forward to the people he meets, the places he goes, the river Styx, all that good stuff. It ties all that stuff in there, man. So I mean, this is the time, man, to be an indie creator, man, and I'm grateful for Eric creating something like RippaSend, because this story has been through a lot, and I haven't seen Chad, getting the text, man. He's just like, man, it's just like, he's like, I'm about to be done, bro. I was like, man, don't let the haters get you. I was like, man, come on, man, like, and he did some private funding and some other stuff, man. It just seemed like it was just like wall after wall after wall.
It's a long road to get here, but here is one book away from 1,100 books sold.
Woo!
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yep. And 83 books or $83 away from 63K.
Wow.
Woo!
That's crazy, dude.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, actually, hold on. That's with me not being logged in.
So that's basically 200 books over 2 days or less than 2 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was like, I think we can get to 1,000 books. Like that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And then I woke up to that amazing news this morning. I was like, that was exciting. I hadn't checked. I don't like to always check Twitter right in the morning because it's like super toxic.
You don't want to start your day with Twitter.
Yeah.
You
So I
really
was
don't.
So I was just walking in, and then I saw
Eric train your Twitter.
Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You can.
You can train your Twitter, man.
My Twitter is filled with a lot of puppy videos.
my Twitter is filled with a lot of artists and WWE wrestling, but
That's fair. That's fair.
No, but you're right, man. Like it's I remember a writer told me I was reading some negative reviews of a book that we were working on at the time, and he told me, he was like, "You create for the fans, not the haters." And I was like, you know what, man, that helped me, because even though some of the stuff haters may say may be true, and that's where you were talking about, Andrew. You got to filter it. You take some of the stuff with a grain of salt, but for the most part, they're coming at you out of malice or ill intent. So, you hear it, but you put them mugs in your rear view, man, behind soundproof glass, and let them rant and rave and look stupid. You focus on the people that actually love your product, and those are the ones you create for. Those are the ones that are going to buy it and keep buying. They're going to come back for part 2 and
Eric
3.
says it all the time. After basically every single convention we go to, the conventions are incredibly eye-opening.
Yep.
As are meetups.
Yep.
Because we do exist in this era where, most of the marketing is done online. Online is where most of the visibility is. However, there's still a subsect of people that will always be there online. And it's usually those negative people, right? Negative specifically with ill intent. You go to conventions or meetups, you almost never see that.
Yeah.
Almost ever. Like you might have one or two weirdos, right? And it's like, all right, somebody's off their meds today. That's fine. Go. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Security if necessary. But other than that, like it's just positivity, man. Because people are going there because they want comics, or people are going there because they're interested in whatever other cool thing that they enjoy, right, for their hobbies. And I was telling this to Chad before the stream.
Yeah,
I think Deathshroud is going to be a super popular thing at conventions.
Oh,
because we already get people that they don't know us from Adam, right? They've never heard of the Rippaverse. There's a growing number of people now who may have never purchased from us yet.
Yeah,
but they've heard of us, and so they'll walk by our booth and be like, "Oh, you guys are those guys," right? And they'll maybe just heard our name in passing, right? And then they'll scan. Now it's crazy, like looking at our booth setups now in 2025 compared to like a year or so ago. We have so many more books, and so they're scanning it and they're like, "Oh, this actually looks pretty cool." And I'm like, man, Deathshroud did that.
Yes, sir.
People are going to make a beeline for this book as soon as they see any of the covers. Doesn't matter if it's Victor's, doesn't matter if it's Stegman's, doesn't matter if it's Vken's, doesn't matter if it's Booth's. Like, they're going to see the undeniable quality and just cool factor of this, because it's comics, man. We're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. We're supposed to be geeking out, and that happens at cons every single time. Whether it's people who have been longtime fans of us, or whether it's people who have even never heard of us and just start up conversation with us about comics. And
being able to pick up the physical book, and then you like quickly just kind of like open it up and look at something, but you're gonna be like, holy shit, like this is pretty premium, as I say.
Undeniable.
Undeniable
is the best way I can describe it.
I was talking to Jay too. Like I really want to be able to go to MegaCon and be able to interact and share that experience with the fans. And
if we get you at MegaCon, you're signing the books.
Absolutely. No, I would want to do.
I'll bring all four of them.
Yeah, I want to sign books for people, because that's such a great opportunity to kind of share and like hear their comments. And I that's something that's a dream, man. Like for me, like if as a creator, to have somebody care enough that like want to talk to you about it, or want to be like, hey, can I have your signature on this, because I cherish this, what you created enough that means something. That's the dream, dude. So
it's Deathshroud is he's such a polarizing and impacting looking character, man. I was getting visuals, man, of like your booth, and as people walk and they see that a mural or whatever you have of him up there.
Oh yeah,
that cool. Alone is a draw, and people are like, "What is this?"
Yeah, man.
It's like, think about
it, like 50,000 people or more will go through a convention. Some of these bigger ones, like
MegaCon,
like maybe 100,000. Yeah,
way more. We had 40K at Bell County.
There you go. Yeah,
we'll have, I forget what it was, but it was I want to say it was over 100,
Yeah.
150 or something like that at
Yeah.
MegaCon. MegaCon's a big con.
Yeah, it is.
So to that point, like you're gonna have so many fresh eyes of like,
Yes.
what is this? Oh my God, this is awesome.
Yep.
And then it's just an opportunity to build, continue to build fan bases and that word of mouth. And that's why I always go bring it back. But, the reviews, I'm really excited for people to start posting like, especially those in-depth reviews. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, I'll
I
watch
love
the
those
whole
too,
thing.
that, like, they're trying to like pick apart every
Yeah,
scene
great.
and then start to theorize
Theories,
things.
yep.
Man, that's the funnest stuff in the world to watch and listen to.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, Chad, and this
Yeah.
is the future in mind expanding. What are you gonna do, man, when you see somebody cosplay Deathshroud for the first time?
Oh, dude, I definitely want a picture with them, dude. That's the I feel like if someone's willing to do that,
Yeah.
that's a sign that your IP is on the trajectory of like you're
Facts.
making it. Yeah, because
Yeah,
like,
you're
if
right.
people are that passionate
Yep.
that want to do that's a
Mhm.
really good sign of that's a really good sign. So I that would be, if I were to see that'd be like, please, can I take a picture with you? Because
You
that's
imagine like the glowing orbs, dude, and like they actually got the light eyes that light up and the cape and all that stuff, dude.
Some of those cosplayers are crazy with like how
Yeah.
intricate they go into
true.
detail with what they do. They're utilizing things like styrofoam and
Yep.
molding things, and it's wild. It's way beyond me. I have zero crafty ability to me whatsoever when it comes to that, but it's cool as hell when you see it done
Yep.
and done well.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those hallmarks of like, wow, like at least visually and conceptually, you're onto something, and
Absolutely.
your design is caught on, right? If somebody's going through the amount of time and effort and energy that goes into building something like that from scratch, because take something like Deathshroud, you can't just go to Amazon or one of the other cosplay websites
Yeah,
out
build it.
there, or go to Spirit of Halloween in June, right? Like you're not going to get anything like that there. You have to put in the time and the effort and energy, and that, I think, that would speak volumes. I think the other thing is fan art. When you see people like starting to like, because that's something that takes time. Like that takes a lot of time and energy, and it's not like you're getting paid for it. So you're doing it strictly out of love. You're doing it strictly out of like, you have a genuine interest in this thing. And man, when you start to see those fan art pieces come in of Deathshroud and the other characters, it's gonna hit.
Well, I've seen it a little bit when we were doing some of the Indiegogos, and that was like super cool. And obviously, Rockstar artist, he's like a video game concept artist, Michael Pedro. You guys saw that thing that he did. That was absolutely insane. I mean, he's on a whole level of awesome. But it's seeing like, to Andrew's point, fans taking the time to actually sit down and draw like some of their favorite characters from the series. That's so cool. I love that. I have a little Discord, and in the past people have like posted stuff in there too, for Deathshroud. So it's really flattering, to be honest, to be frank. I love it. And that's again, that's a sign of like, you're on the right track. If people are willing to spend that time to, whether it's creating a costume or illustration or whatever it is, like, create a sticker or whatever it is. That just says that you have some type of secret sauce that you got. So
because the fact that people are willing to spend their hard-earned money, especially in this economy, on your creation is such a blessing. And such a humbling experience when the response is such that it is. But then you take that even further, and spending your time. That's a whole other thing. And when people are willing to do both of those things, it's like, man, you're connecting with people, on a much deeper level at that point when they're willing to do that. And I think Deathshroud is going to be one of those properties that's going to have that kind of staying power, because it's going to, once people read the story, especially because right now it's just like, oh man, that's a badass
cool.
looking
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
That looks really freaking rad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a lot of people might be just thinking, and, you know, maybe reasonably so because of the climate when it comes to comic books, maybe they're thinking, all right, that'll be a really cool looking comic. I'll go through it.
Yeah.
Right. But what they don't know, what's going to catch them off guard, is that the story is actually going to grab them too.
Yep.
And they're going to be like, wow, oh, this isn't throwaway 90s knockoff.
Yeah.
You know,
People are going to be surprised. I think a lot of people
I think so.
are, you know, probably underestimating, and I think they're going to be like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I've had a lot of people who even
I know I wasn't when I first read it.
There you go. A lot of people,
I was shocked. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I would say the biggest, the most consistent point of feedback that I actually get is they read it and they're like, I thought this was going to be Spawn. And they're like, once I actually read it,
it's not.
It's not. And I'm like, I know. I market it from a high level if you like Spawn, because it deals with heaven and hell and you got scary designs and all of that. But you know, the story is not.
No, the story couldn't be further from Spawn.
Exactly. So I think people are really and they would always, like, I remember like some of these guys would be like, really, I'm going to sell, let me see. And then they actually came back and made the effort to come back and be like, I just want to actually follow up and say, man, I judged it and I was wrong. And I was like, thank you. So I'm super pumped. There is so there's the main story that takes place, and then there's kind of a grounded subplot that involves some of the human characters that goes in parallel, and,
which are great.
And they interweave.
Great side characters, by the way.
Yeah, I wanted to have, you know, there's kind of a reoccurring theme of like transformation and getting dealt a bad hand and what you do in those circumstances. So that's kind of a theme as well throughout the story.
You can make it in Cobalt City. You can make it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No
Rick.
kidding.
Yeah, Rick is a really
that's the darkest. That's one of the darkest cities, man. I think next to Gotham. I think it's
right up there with Gotham, man.
It's oppressive.
There was actually stuff that got cut. So in the original first draft with Kanan, there was like a lot of like I guess you would say like world building exposition within the story that got cut of the mayor. Oh shit!
We have crossed 1,100 books sold, and we crossed 63K.
Wow.
Look at that. We jumped up like $400 just in the last 15, 20 minutes here.
I'm talking about, y'all. Way to go.
That's crazy, dude. Like that was like not that long ago.
That means
we were at like
some people were grabbing the hardcover, I bet.
Yeah. Or maybe the full,
or the full book pack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. Whether you're watching the stream and that's why you jumped in and gave this project a shot, which I promise you is worth your time and worth your money. Or if you're not even watching the stream, and so I don't know why I'm talking, because I'm talking to thin air, but you found us via Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or one of our Google ads, whatever it is. Thank you so much. Or you found us through the newsletter that we send out. We did a final day newsletter for this. Like, man, that is so awesome to see. Thank you.
That's what fans
guys.
do, man. Fans
1,100 bucks, dude. It's crazy. Like,
dude, what they say? You deserve it.
Yeah. Well, earlier this week, I DM'd you, and it was like right before or right after we had hit 800 books.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I'd be so jazzed if we could hit 900. You didn't use jazz. Yeah. That's my word. But you were like, I'd be so happy if we could hit 900 books. And I was like, man, I think we're gonna crack 1,000 by the end of the closeout stream. And we cracked 1,000 before the closeout stream even started, and now we're over 1,100.
It's crazy.
That's the power of just fans.
Yep.
I mean, it's so crazy, like that momentum there. Because like to your point, I was like, if we could hit 1,000, that would be like that's a major milestone, especially
the vast majority of indie books do not hit 4 figures
100%
in books sold.
100%. So this was that's really good. That's a really good sign. And to Andrew's point, I think with reviews as they come trickling in, with the cons, I think this is going to be a snowball effect.
Get ready, man.
And I'm excited. And I know we've said it like 100 times, but I truly am super excited for people to dive in, because I don't think they quite know, like they're going to be surprised. It's going to be a really fun story. We got so much more to tell. So many more other characters and side stories to like spin-offs to bring in. But again, that's all contingent on the simple answer of, does it need to exist, which comes down to the fans. Like, do they want this? Do they want to see more Deathshroud? Do they want continue to build out that world? And that will be proven out through reviews, through continued support of the series. But I mean, from this initial inception, that's pretty
point,
positive.
Man, I think a lot of times, man, and one of the reasons why there's such a opening for these type of stories is that people want alternatives. Like, even though you have your fan bases in the different genres and whatever, but I think subconsciously people, and I've even said, like, we haven't told all the stories. There's still stories to be told, whether you have a story of a speedster, whether you have a story of a somebody wreathed in shadow, in death, whether you have NDA of something else, whether you have street level character, your Superman archetype. Like, the stories haven't been told, and so there's I believe there's always room for, yes, there's several million different Supermans, but it's the story that matters. And so when you couple with a quality product, man, coupled with somebody who believes in their product, and then 2, something that the fans may not even know they're looking for, you create a space, man, that's like, man, I actually wanted, I needed to read something like that. That's kind of refreshing, man. Like,
every creative void, in terms of like in fandoms, like in especially I would say even in comic books right now, video games probably also as well. There are certain voids that when something comes along that fits that hole, it will organically fill that hole.
I agree.
People will gravitate towards it because there's a yearning, there's a longing, there's a hunger for that thing. And I think it's been a while since we've had something, because I mean, shoot, Todd is still killing it over there with Spawn, and not just Spawn, but Spawn and Gunslinger, Spawn and Scorched. He's doing fantastic.
Like, I mean, people were waiting for the Spawnverse, bro.
a lot of people for a really long time. So he's killing it over there now. He's building out this whole big thing. But there's still a void in a lot of spaces that even exist alongside a genre that does have other examples within it. Like I just said, Spawn's doing great, but there are still other stories that can be told in that genre that people are waiting for, right? People are waiting to latch onto. And just because something already exists as a genre, as an archetype, does not mean that something else that fits both of those, but is still its own thing, can't come along and all of a sudden explode. And I think Deathshroud has all the capability in the world to do that, alongside all these other big names in kind of that
a good example
tier.
A good example of that, if you guys remember, I'm sure you do, in the early 2000s, Heroes was that the first and second season. Third season was trash, and then writer strike happened, and it was just gone. But early on, like the first season particularly, it took your standard archetypes, but it created such an intricate story. Save the cheerleader, save the world. So you had somebody who was immortal. You had somebody who had super sight. You had somebody who could multiply. You had, your Peter Petrelli's character. He was basically a poly hero. So if he was in vicinity, he was like Sync. He could take your ability, and his brother could do the same thing. And then you had Suresh, who was guy. He could see the future, and you had all these different things that would happen. And so none of those archetypes were new. But the story,
the characters themselves,
stories,
the story around them,
the concept,
those were new.
That's what, and that was before a lot of people were, I guess, for lack of a better term, taking heroes out of tights and making them street level. Heroes was one of the first shows to kind of do that, and so that was a void. Everybody had, we had, the larger than life, but what about it? Was like, what about a superhero? Is just he's a bus driver, he has super strength. Like, was it with Bruce Willis' character, Unbreakable?
Oh yeah, Unbreakable.
Something to that effect. And it was like, then that's when that type of archetype started to become popular. And so I felt like, within, I say America is like we're sometimes in our villain arc, in a lot of ways.
Right.
It's like, what more than an anti-hero? Like a guy that skates the line of what needs to be done. I think it was a character from the TV show Invincible, or the cartoon Invincible, and it was Cecil. And some of you always say, he's like, we can be good or do good things. He said you can't be both. He said you can do what's right, or you can be good, or you could do what's right. That's what he said. You could be good, or you can do what's right. And he said, doing the right, he said sometimes doing what's right don't always seem like it's good. He said, but you can't be both. And I feel like, in the world, man, like that, we're in with so much going on. Like, Deathshroud is that he's for the person, man, that's like, sometimes you gotta to take out a devil, you need a monster.
Yeah, I think like to Cannon, to your point, the audience has been primed. I mean, even kind of shows like Game of Thrones, right? Like Game of Thrones is a very gray, like there's like someone like Jamie, although I really hate how they did his character arc dirty in the end. But like there's like that was a show that lasted a long time with a lot of gray characters.
Yes.
And then you look at the success of like Deadpool. He's an anti-hero. Yep. So there's this growing appetite, and then like Venom, although Venom, the show or the movie, was kind of like meh, but still like the first one made a lot of money. Joker. So there's the audience is primed and receptive to these kind of gray characters, and I always kind of feel like that's more realistic representation of the real world anyways. And then answering to like also the demand of this type of story and universe is also perfect timing, because you have this resurgence of the Diablo franchise is at its all-time high. You have Diablo 4, you have the expansion coming out, you have it on mobile, you have
the Dark Souls stuff.
So you have
also just announced a new, or rather was it announced fully or teased a new Darksiders?
Yes, Darksiders 4. You have Path of Exile 2 that is like coming out. You have Last Epoch. You have Warhammer that's in the works with Henry Cavill. So there's this appetite for that genre, and they each bring their own unique thing to the table, and so does Deathshroud. So that's why I'm like so excited for Deathshroud as well, because I think from the art direction and from an overall product, it's very high level, very commercial, and stands in shoulder to shoulder. Like if you were to take all of those properties that I just spoke about and put them all in like comic books on the shelf, Deathshroud isn't going to feel out of place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be like, oh, cool. Like, so what is this like other AAA thing? So I do think that, the timing is great, both as well as like, Deathshroud went through its own kind of rebirth in the sense of, you know, it went away, worked on it in the background, and then we got lucky with the timing of the Rippaverse expanding into RippaSend. That gave, you know, without that, Deathshroud was the only other way to get Deathshroud out there was me to raise a ton of money to launch my own publisher. That would be the only other way, because it's like that's it. So I am super excited about the long-term potential of RippaSend, because I kind of view it as like A24, because there's going to be so many interesting series and artists that are going to bring opportunities to the table that could be, you know, the next big thing that would never have had a shot. And these other guys are set in their ways, and unless, you know, you check their check boxes, you know, there's no excuse that Deathshroud, and this isn't throwing shade, this is just being objective. There's no excuse why something like Deathshroud couldn't have been come out through one of the top guys. But you know, think about how many other stories are like that out there, or like that artists won't have the chance, and what you guys are doing is providing those opportunities. So I'm super excited and grateful, and like what a prime. Like you guys have such a massive fan base, and this isn't throwing shade at other studios either, but like there's studios who have raised over 10 million US. I won't say their names, but they're not in the conversation. Like nobody's talking about their books. Like you guys are in the conversation. You're doing all of the right things, from like right down to like the community building. You're doing all these experiential activations with like interacting with the fans. It's very much like what we did in esports. You guys are building hardcore loyal audience, and like a movie theater business model, you know, 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of, you know, of your customer base. So it's like, you guys have built something, and you guys are still in the early days, and you're continuing to get momentum. So I'm just so excited to see you guys grow as a company, and I'm so excited that Eric took, I guess you could say, like a bit of a leap of faith on building out the whole RippaSend wing and experimenting and seeing that, because I think, like, I view RippaSend as has the potential to be, you know, like a whole Image Comics type thing.
I agree.
Honestly, I really do.
I'm really grateful.
Project. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, I'm really grateful that Eric did ultimately decide to pull the trigger on RippaSend, because I think indie comics needs something injected into it that is healthy and that is promoting something positive. And it's doing that, but what it's also doing kind of passively is allowing for this extra layer of networking for creatives, because now you have all these other writers and artists, or writers who know artists, who can now be like, hey, like, you know, we both launched our stuff through RippaSend. Hey, I really like this artist that you worked with, or this writer that you worked with. Like, hey, would you mind like shooting me their contact information? Can we link up? Right. Or maybe even there are collaborations that end up coming.
I was about to say, like crossovers and
that, like that. We're talking comics here. So I mean, you could go anywhere, and that's what it's all about, right? Like, we want to inject health and, you know, positivity and growth into indie comics, such that people are excited for what's coming.
Facts.
You have creators who feel like they're being supported, while also like being held accountable, and on top of that, getting the opportunities that they might not have otherwise. You know, the crowdfunding space has been incredible for a lot of people over the last several years, because it's allowed people who otherwise did not have like the startup capital to just launch a comic book publishing company or something like that. People have been able to launch very successful comic book universes or comic book series via crowdfunding. And so we're trying to utilize that mentality, but doing it in such a way that it's like, well, we're wanting people to have more than proof of concept, right? We're wanting people to have something that's like, okay, like that works, and it works very well for a lot of people. And I regularly still back a lot of Kickstarters and Indiegogos. However, what we're trying to do is have something that's consistent. And I think the more success that we see with the projects that we're bringing on, like Deathshroud, like Achromatic Chronicles, like Gary Nerdrotic's Waiting for Nerdrotic book, like Mighty Golden Patriot, like now we just announced Shadow Sentry, right? From Eric
That looks
Nowakowski.
really cool.
It is cool. So I actually backed his Indiegogo. I'm too lazy to get up and go to my short box of my crowdfunded books, but I have the foil cover for Shadow Sentry Origins, and it's beautiful. Like the book is actually really good looking.
Yeah,
and I'm excited for the fact that we're going to have a collected edition release of that. Through here, and that type of stuff is great.
That's what's awesome about RippaSend, man. Like it's, I guess, what sets us apart from a lot of people that are, quote unquote, creating a space for creatives. Of course, you have the mainstream that's more like a machine, because sometimes, I mean, we're at a space where it's, I guess you want to say, at a size where you can still connect with each other. It's not too big yet. You know what I'm saying? And I think just creating that
still feels kind of grassroots.
But creating that infrastructure that, and keeping that kind of grassroots mindset, even as we do expand, is kind of what, like I always tell you, Andrew, it's like, it's always about the, more than just the artwork we do or that the artists do, but like, is the artist okay? Are you good? Kind of thing, like, because when you feel like you have a space where you can create, you can establish your idea and know that it's going to stay your idea. It's your property. We're, like I said, we're providing different means to publish it, and then two, sometimes in those groups and those connections, they attack their own, and it's like. And like you alluded to a little bit, Chad, man, if you don't check the boxes and all these different things, they blacklist you or shun you or throw you to the side. That's one thing, man, about RippaSend, man, and Rippaverse. It's about the comics, man. Your politics don't matter. Your ideals don't care. Is the story good? Do you have a cool character? Is it something that that has a dope fan base? Awesome. There's so much schisms and so many different groups that's just like, y'all fight and crash and burn. That's fine. We over here, we just gonna make books that people like. We're gonna create stuff that people love. Y'all can fight. You can do streams about stupid stuff. You know what? If I don't subscribe to you, I'm not gonna watch it. So I don't care, because you're saying the same rhetoric over and over and over again. So what we do over here, we focus on creating stories and cool characters and expanding the universe. And that, to me, and I remember Eric said it, people actually like people who are good people. Go figure. What you mean?
Imagine.
Imagine that. Like, the good guy does win. Yes. You know what? The good guy actually does win, because he cares for his customers. He cares for his fans. He don't run other people down. He don't backbite and shade and do all this other crazy stuff. It's all about the craft. It's all about comics, and that's what it should always be about. Like my friends of mine said, let the main thing be the main thing.
We're almost at 64,000.
And that's crazy, by the way.
We are. It just jumped up again. So we're at 63K, 827 bucks.
Go fans.
1,116 books. Thank you guys in the chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your support of this project. Yeah, dude, like we might cross 65K here shortly. Wow. It's entirely possible.
I was gonna say one more thing, or not one more thing, but something that we talked about earlier, as far as with you, Chad. I believe timing is everything. Yeah. Not to say that Deathshroud couldn't have come out through this means or that means, this avenue or that avenue. I believe in like divine appointments.
Yeah.
And seasons
Providence.
and set times for stuff. Yeah, Providence, exactly. Fate, whatever you want to call it. Deathshroud was supposed to be here.
100%.
Whether it be the jump off point and yada yada. But this is where so sometimes you gotta look at like you keep hitting all these different walls, and it's like, okay, well maybe and sometimes people they quit just before they hit that gusher.
Yeah,
and to your credit, man, you stuck with it, man.
I wasn't gonna walk away. Yeah, I wasn't. I believed, if everything that's happened, I believe that part of it was also because it was a pretty awesome story, characters, everything, and you're gonna get hate when you have something special, and obviously this is like a pure passion project. Like a sane person would have walked away a long time ago, but I was like, I believe that if I can just get a dumb luck moment here, that if I can get this out there, that this has a shot to take off. And again, that chain of events was Eric deciding to do this, you getting hired here, then you recommending me to Caro, and then Caro saying, this is really cool, let's do that. And
Caro was a genuine champion for this project.
Caro
was
100%.
Yes, Shroud? Yeah, I've got the Indiegogo.
She was a big champion of this, and I owe a lot, and I'm super grateful for her pushing this internally and making that happen. And for the folks that maybe maybe you don't, but this wasn't something that just boom happened overnight and woohoo, we're out to the races. This was a long time of going back and forth, and so this was a lot to get here, not to mention the years of development and all the rocky roads and that whole journey. So I'm super grateful, and can going back to your point of and to any potential creators in the chat listening, but one of the things that I would recommend, or why I would recommend going through RippaSend, is because it is a turnkey solution here. So if you have a finished product, it's of quality, you're plugging it into this turnkey mechanism that is going to get the product in front of hardcore enthusiasts who love comic books and want to, and you're getting plugged into this passionate community. And that is something that is really hard, because if you go through, and again, this isn't throwing shade, I want to be very clear, I'm just speaking objectively. If you go through something like one of the bigger independents, that is on you. Like, even if they green light it, they'll do the basics, but a heavy majority of the marketing is going to be on you. And if you're, depending on the size of a creator you are, most people aren't like a Ryan Stegman or a Greg Capullo. So if you're kind of have a small following, it's going to be very tough. And unless you have, in my opinion, like a 6-figure marketing budget, it's going to be hard to get momentum. So this is so if you have something cool, you have something of quality, this is getting, this is basically like an investor pitch room of this is the opportunity of getting your product in front of the perfect
built-in audience.
Yeah. And it's what do you, what are you interested in this? And so that is really hard to do. And referencing kind of again the kind of some of the other publishers that have come in the space that have raised 10 million. I won't say their names, actually over 10 million, but they're not in the conversation. And I don't think that they going back to early esports with Optic Gaming, Phase, that are still these are still big community driven. That's the key thing. Community
still part of the
driven.
Conversation.
These are still dominant brands, and that's what Eric is building here, and that's why it's really exciting to be on kind of the ground floor of that. What is this, the third? Am I the fourth RippaSend project?
We did Achromatic Chronicles Green / the re-release of Blue. Then we did Mighty Golden Patriot. then it was yours.
Nerd.
Yeah, you're the
Or
third
Nerd.
because then
Or no, Nerd came after mine. Nerdrotic came after me.
Gary's memoir
So I was the third
launched
one.
after
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were the third.
So,
I mean, you were one of the first 5, like,
yeah.
Of this kind of like ground floor, trying to
I hope this
really
is an olive
give a
branch
boost
too.
to indies.
I hope this is an olive branch, because I hope, like, other top artists that are out there that are creating their own IP, I hope that they look at this or at least consider it. And I any chance that I get, if I have interactions with individuals, I always just be like, ask the simple question of, your goal is to hopefully continue to be able to make this story and build on this universe, and that is contingent on getting this in front of fans. And it's like, what is your strategy to do that? And I'm like, this is a plug and play, man. Like,
when our buddy V Ken Marion is ready to go on his next issue of Battle Chronicles Soul Striker, I'm gonna hound him. I'm gonna be like, man, like, honestly, come on, on, man. Let's get this, because the quality. I'm so glad and thankful we were able to make the collected edition of Deathshroud Forged in Shadows Volume 1 over here work, because it's a beautiful, just objectively beautiful piece of work from both a art and a storytelling perspective. And I want it to have more eyes, and I want us to, like, right now, our RippaSend eyes are such that, like, it's kind of like secondary to our Rippaverse. Like, if people are following, that's why I retweet from the Rippaverse account the vast majority of the RippaSend posts, because it gets greater boost that way. But I want to see more and more people's eyes on these projects over at RippaSend, so they can grow, so you guys can grow your own, like, audience. So it does, like, not everybody that's buying one RippaSend project is going to buy all the others, right? People who are getting Achromatic Chronicles, not necessarily all of them are also going to be getting Mighty Golden Patriot or Deathshroud.
And I can speak to this, Andrew, as well. Every time you guys launch something new, I also see a bump in sales. So that proves your point of, like, every time something new is launched, a fan or reader is coming to the site and saying, hey, since I'm already here, this also picks my interest. And same with
that rising tide that just increased top line sales overall for everybody.
It's a halo effect. Even like when
for you individual creators.
Like Nerdrotic, every time there's a new project that launches, fans are coming to the site and they're like, okay, I want to pick up that, but since I'm here, now I didn't see Deathshroud, or I didn't see Chronicles or Mighty Golden Patriot or any of that stuff. So then they add it to their cart. And so I saw objectively every time there was an announcement, it wasn't taking away, it was adding, which is really interesting to see. And I think, again, I think Deathshroud's a really interesting project to launch. And I think that it's gonna. I'm biased, but I think some of the bigger guys are like, ooh, okay, interesting, because maybe for a long time they're the only guys in town, and now
they're not.
They're not. And you guys got some secret sauce, so I'm excited to see, like, you guys continue to build momentum and all the future partnerships that are going to be coming down the road. So
you mentioned, man,
best.
that's it's. RippaSend's going to have its own catalog.
There you go.
Of like you said, and that's kind of the beauty of it. It's, you imagine a catalog of, say, 100 titles. But they're all creator owned by various people. But if you're a shopper and you go to RippaSend, you're like, man, I think I want to get Golden Patriot or go Deathshroud, or I want to get both of those, or I want to get, you're creating a catalog. And not only is everybody eating, because you're buying their books, but you got a whole nother set, in addition to and separate from the Rippaverse, you got your own set of unique stories and ideas and creators. And you go just say, follow that. I just want to follow Deathshroud. You can. It's not like it's linked to anything else. It's Chad's IP,
there plenty of people who are like, we're incredibly thankful and appreciative to all the, like, longtime Rippaverse fans who are also
Absolutely.
diving in on all these
Absolutely.
RippaSend projects like Deathshroud. But
Yep.
if you're somebody who like you happen to come across one of our Google ads for Deathshroud or Mighty Golden Patriot or Gary's book or
Yeah.
Achromatic Chronicles, whatever it is, or eventually Shadow Century,
Yeah.
like and like that's the book that caught your eye, and you look at our Rippaverse catalog and you're like,
Eh,
not for me,
yeah.
not interested. But
Yeah.
you're like, you are hardcore all in on Deathshroud or Achromatic Chronicles or whatever else. Like, more power to you. God bless. Like, thank you
Absolutely.
for
That's what it's
supporting
about.
these creators, because it's about just all of us trying to elevate each other.
It's comics,
And
man.
I know I will see more and more people who they might not be a Rippaverse fan,
Yeah.
right? Or they might not be a fan of Achromatic Chronicles or whatever else, but like they dove in on Deathshroud
Yep.
with the RippaSend campaign, or shoot, maybe they even dove in on the Indiegogo, right?
Yeah.
And then they saw it launch through
Which
here,
some of
and
them
they're
people
like,
have.
I'm
We
getting
talked about
more.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm getting more. Yeah, I've seen several people throughout tonight's stream in the chat saying, like, I backed the Indiegogo.
Yep.
And
It's so
I initially
awesome to
thought,
see, man.
like, dude, that's so, like, that must be super
Very-
cool to
Oh,
see,
dude.
right? And now these people who supported you so early on are
Yep.
going to get rewarded with getting not just, like, this isn't just an issue 2. This isn't just a brief follow-up.
The
Like,
Bible.
they're getting several chapters
Yep.
more than what was ever released
Yeah.
via Indiegogo. So, like, you guys are in for a treat. Thank you so much for all your support. We are coming up on the 2-hour mark here now, so I do definitely want to give the floor to both of you gentlemen to give like a last minute sort of pitch. Like, you don't have to make it a minute, like make it 5-10 minutes for all I care. I don't care, but like give us a pitch for why Deathshroud Forged in Shadows Volume 1 is worth comic book fans time and hard-earned money, and why they should be excited for it.
All right.
Kanan, I'm gonna give it to Kanan first. We'll end with the creator.
Okay.
With the actual creator, the creator
Shadow
of this
Mask Warrior.
universe
Yes.
will send us
Yes.
off.
All right.
So let's give it to you first, Kanan.
If you love anti-heroes, if you're a fan of Spawn, that's one of the selling points as far as like just the uniqueness of it. But if you want a different story, if you love the action with a gothic spin and turn and twist, demons, creatures, gods among men, you get all of that with Deathshroud. Death is again one of the coolest characters I think I've ever seen. His whole and it's funny because it reminds me of Star Wars episode 1 through 6. The story was actually about Anakin. It wasn't about everybody else. Deathshroud stems from death and wanting to create something that nobody expected it. Now everything that's happening is fallout as a result of him technically breaking the rules. Like, you can't do that. You're death. What are you doing? You ain't creating life. And so it's like, unfortunately, Deathshroud is reaping harvest from nothing he sowed. So it's like, it's this down spiral. So, you have this character, man, who's endowed with the power of his father to combat both forces, man, on a monumental level, while looking cool doing it. He's got his living shadow, and his armor is alive, and the reclaimer is his version of the Reaper weapon, but it's a gun, stuff like that. And so, like, all these different aspects. So, like, if you love action, high octane type action, but also a deep, rich story, and love that.
And character designs by one of the best artists in the friggin' industry, Kanan White.
I appreciate it. I mean, that too, good art. If you want good art, man, that's consistent. Myself, I said I contribute to the first part, and then V-Ken, man, he established the remaining pace of it. The book's nonstop. You don't get lulls of just like, oh, okay, this is the boring part. Like, it's once you start, man, it just keeps going to the end. And Yeah, you're not gonna go wrong, buying. And like you said, you get all several chapters in one volume, and it's like a trade paperback omnibus basically for Deathshroud, and you get it all in one shot. And so so you can't go wrong with that. And if you like collected editions, here it is. Definitely
This is a
invest.
fast 196 pages, man.
Yes, absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
flies fast.
That says a lot, actually, because like the fact that that's a beefy thing to go through, and the fact that it flows so nicely, and you're constantly hooked and engaged, and wanting to know what happens next. It flies by, and you're just like, oh my god, like when is part 2? Damn it!
Yep.
Well, I remember saying on our last stream, and guys, again, I really encourage you guys to check out, even if maybe you're cooking dinner or you're vacuuming or whatever it is, like listen back through that last stream that Chad, Kanan, and I did, where it's just talking all the creative stuff. It's a fun conversation. You guys, I think, get a lot out of it. But I do remember mentioning that right before the stream, I was planning on just reading like the first 2 issues of the book, just to kind of like refresh my memory, because it'd been like 2 years since I had last read it. And I wound up just reading the whole thing in one sitting because it goes by that fast. You don't realize you're sitting there for that long reading it because it's just so well paced. It's not a slog. It is not a chore. I've read long books that like part of or a lot of feel like a chore and a slog to get through. And it's like, man, this is like, there are still good parts that happen, but it's like, man, getting to those, the in-betweens don't feel like they move at a pace for my taste. Deathshroud, Forged in Shadows, Volume 1, guys.
Yes.
Those 196 pages fly by. You don't realize that the book's that long until you close it and you're like, oh shit, it is that thing.
It's like reading. It's a tome. It's a giant tome. I do want to shout out somebody in the chat. I think their name was Coco Smooth. I will say that I know that he had supported the original Indiegogo, and he did a video review. And I watched his review, and he got all 3 covers, and he was really proud of them. And I remember that review. He gave it high premium rating and loved it. He loved Kyle Hotz' cover and Ryan Stegman's and Brett Booth. And so awesome. That's awesome to see that that he's come back to get the saga.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
That I'm super grateful and honored that it's been a long time. It's been, we first launched. I first wrote this in 2019, and then we did character designs for a couple of months with Kanan, and then we started on interiors. And it's been a long road since 2020, and there's been it's been a lot of roadblocks and shitty stuff that's happened. And I'm super grateful to be able to launch it through RippaSend, and the support, the reception, the fact that we have over 1,100 books pre-ordered. That's honestly that's insane, and surpassed my expectations. The community and the camaraderie within the Rippaverse and the RippaSend is truly something to behold. And is your guys' secret sauce. So I'm super grateful to be a part of that. Can't wait for everyone to dive in. This is definitely a passion project. This is all of my childhood favorite things brought into my own universe. I hold myself to a very high standard. My comic book gods were the McFarlane, the Capullos, Silvestris, and I did everything I could to ensure that the product that we brought to market was going to stand shoulder to shoulder of what you would expect from one of these kind of great legends. And I'm super proud. And like I said earlier, of all of the big kind of IP that's kind of lives in this world right now, this stands. I would be confident of this standing shoulder to shoulder to any of those on the bookshelf and competing for your eyes, and not only competing but also earning that fan reception of like, this is not only really cool looking, but this story, I once you're finished, it is like, I want part 2, and that's my goal. Like I'm really hoping that when you guys are finished reading it, that not only did you have a good time, but that you answer the question of, does Deathshroud need to exist? Like, does this need to continue to go on? And that is the most important thing. And for those of you who have missed it previously, like, this is all written, like part 2, which is a graphic novel that would conclude Forged in Shadows. It's already written. And once that's concluded, I already know the next major 2-part arc that would contain.
Yeah.
We know,
guys, it's the man with a plan.
Exactly.
We know the spin-off characters. There's 3 other heroes that I haven't even mentioned that are other Nephilim. But Shadow Slayer is the one that's the scripts are done for that, and the character designs are officially done for that. So there's so much potential here, and I'm truly honored and grateful for the support. And I believe that once you guys are done reading this book, you guys are going to be happy with your decision of taking a chance on me and on Deathshroud, and the goal is, I want you guys to want more and be along for the journey to hopefully come, and who knows, like, if this can keep going, there's the skies are the limits. Like, maybe there's a crossover potentially with the Rippaverse. Maybe Deathshroud teams up with the Rippaverse character at some point. There's all sorts of different possibilities. Even maybe Deathshroud teams up with one of the other indie books under RippaSend. There's just so much potential and sandbox to play in.
Yep.
But I think you're going to be in for a real treat with Deathshroud, and this is purely a passion project, not only from me but from all of the artists who contributed years of their life. Like, Ken was on this, working a long time on this. We gave him the breathing room to like take his time. So the hatching, there's so much detail, there's so much hatching, and it really shines, and to the point where, like, I've tried to buy some of the pages off Ken, he won't sell it.
Yeah, he's
proud of it.
He doesn't want to sell them.
So he's
no.
Yeah, so he's
that tells you that
he's
he's super proud of the work. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and he tells me all the time, like, I guess when I touched base with them not that long ago, it's been a while since he flipped through the artwork, and he was flipping through it. He's like, "Damn, man, this is like some of the best shit I've ever done." So he's super proud of it, and I'm excited that again, that the community and RippaSend has given this a place to launch, and I can't wait for everybody to dive in and see your reviews. So
thank you so much for that, Chad. Guys, if you are on the fence after that, I don't know how to do a better pitch than Kanan and Chad just did, because they were far more connected to the project than I'll ever be. However, as somebody who loves the genre in which this book resides, this book is something that I'm proud to own. It's something that I was proud to rebuy when it came to getting the collected edition through RippaSend. And to be clear, it's not like I get a discount on RippaSend projects. I don't.
Right.
No, I just shelled out the money because I want it, right? And I believe in it.
Exactly.
I don't just buy things for the sake of like, oh, I supported another project that's associated with the company that I work for. No, I bought Deathshroud Forged in Shadows Part 1 because I believe in it, and because I know the quality that's there. I'm a massive fan of this genre. I was reading Witchblade since way before my mother knew I was reading Witchblade, and probably would have tanned my hide.
I wonder why.
Probably would have tanned my hide if she did know, and that's okay. But it was formative to the man and the comic book fan that I am these days, and I would absolutely proudly, if I were to dedicate a shelf for my comic books strictly to my supernatural horror stuff. That's my Witchblade. That's my darkness. That's my like Top Cow Trinity stuff, right? That's my Magdalena. All of those, Deathshroud sits right there on that same shelf.
Absolutely.
Right next to those other books.
Yep.
Without question. Also right next to like my Spawn stuff. Regular Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, and Scorched. Like it belongs on that same shelf. And I'm telling you that out of pure sincerity, for love of this genre. And I can tell you that Chad loves this genre, and not only loves it, but as I mentioned earlier in the stream, he also has knowledge of the genre and he understands it. And so, as did the artists that he pulled in to help him create this. So, guys, thank you so much. We are almost at 65K now, guys.
Crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Basically $273 away from 65K.
Wow.
We're at over 1131 books. Your guys' support has been absolutely insane for this project. Thank you so much. If we didn't get a single other backer or single other pre-order from now, this has been an immense success, but I know it's going to still get more. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much for believing in this project, for believing in Chad and all the artists that he surrounded himself with for this. Chad has a fantastic vision for this world that he's building out, and it deserves support if it's the kind of thing that you're into. If this is it, I mean, if you're not into supernatural horror, well, I can't really twist your arm to make you into supernatural horror. But if you're a fan of supernatural horror, I don't really think there's that much of an excuse. This isn't this isn't your Dollar General darkness or anything like that. This is an incredible body of work. And you're going to be happy that you own not just a beautiful looking book, but a book that has a genuinely great story. From someone who clearly did the work to understand how to put together a comic book. And that takes a lot of work, let me tell you. As somebody who is attempting to do the same thing, it takes a lot of work. And so my hat is off to you, Chad. My hat's off to you, Kanan. My hat's off to my boy V Ken, Ryan Stegman, absolute legends, Andrew Dahlhaus, everybody that was a part of this project. And everybody in the chat who hung out with us. We were sitting pretty steady at between the high 70s and high 80s for viewers. And for the fact that I'm not Eric July, and so I don't have nearly the pull that he does. That's impressive. And I know that it was because we had Kanan and Chad on, not because of me. So thank you guys for hanging out and supporting us, supporting the stream, and supporting passionate indie creators. You all are amazing. We're gonna go back on the promotion trail. Oh wow, you said if I refresh it, is it gonna go up another? Wow, we're $3 away from 65K. It just jumped up another $200.
Wow,
that is wild, man. That is absolutely wild. You guys are crazy. Thank you so much. Make sure, just as Chad mentioned, make sure that when you get your books in hand, do your reviews, whether it's a tweet, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's a video review, whatever it is. Please do that, because we want to see that feedback. Chad wants to see that feedback.
I will be listening.
Well, right? He's going to be paying attention. He's going to be checking all that out. So thank you guys. You all are incredible. I'm going to stop talking because I'm not the type of person. I would say I'm not the type of YouTuber, but I'm not a YouTuber at all. But I'm not the type of person who is obsessed with the sound of my own voice. So I'm going to let you guys go back to your evenings. Kanan, Chad, thank you so much for joining me. Chad, thank you for entrusting your baby, your child, that is Deathshroud, to us, to RippaSend. Kanan, thank you for being a part of the creation and the promotion of Deathshroud.
And shout out to you guys. This is for the audience. These guys worked, a full day shift. This is after hours, coming out, helping, me and Deathshroud. This, I'm super grateful for you guys taking the time to help, get this a little bit of extra spotlight. So, the whole support across the board, the fans, all the people behind the scenes. Everyone's been really hyped and championing this project. So it's really felt like, as corny as that sounds, but kind of, very, very family-esque and wanting to win. And that's really refreshing, especially because the entertainment industry can be very competitive and cutthroat. So it's been very warm and very reciprocity. Like everybody wants to be successful. So it's been a pleasure. And like I said, the fans, the support is crazy. We've essentially we've had 65,000. That's has blown my expectations away, which is crazy. Again, over 1,100 books is insane. And I shipping out September, and remember, I know we've hit you over the head with it, but please post those reviews. I will be listening to those reviews. I will be taking that constructive criticism and adjusting things accordingly as I move forward on part 2. So your voice matters. And it matters more than you know. So please, if you have the time, post those reviews.
Absolutely. Guys, we're going to send y'all off with the Deathshroud Forged in Shadows trailer. Thank you, everybody who's hung out with us. Thank you, gentlemen, on the panel. Until next time, which I'm sure you'll be looking forward to seeing Eric's mug instead of mine, but I might be there too anyway, just to spite you all. I love you guys. God bless and Godspeed.
Peace.
My story should have ended on that mission. But somehow, I survived. Turned into some creature from my nightmares. The world I once knew is lost. My very existence is a threat to a cosmic order I didn't know existed. If heaven and hell want me dead, I won't go quietly.